Well, hello and a very good morning to everybody that's tuning in to News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague Nancy Bora. Nancy, very good morning to you. And what we're essentially up to every day at 8 a.m. is to take a look at the overnight developments, is to take a look at the top headlines from English, Hindi newspapers from down south, some regional tabloid headlines as well. And that's not all. What we're also going to be focusing on is what the social media is abuzz with. If there's a meme that's going viral, well, Nancy can talk about it. And there's a video that's going viral, we'll try and throw it up on the big wall right over there. Now, of course, there's a time structure to this show, which is why we thought we'll, sit down together, peruse through the newspapers and jot down a list for you to stay and catch the news pulse of the day, to stay on top of the news pulse of the day. And whilst we're doing that, breaking away from the rigid newsroom structures, the rigid walls of an editorial cabin. How about you also come in, join us in the comment sections, tell us what is it that you would like for us to do, put across a feature story, maybe a soft story, a hard story, a discussion, debate, discourse, whatever you want. We'll try and put across a balanced and a nuanced perspective with the right kind of voices, mind you. Now, of course, we have a list with us that we thought we'll put across for you because it's impossible to talk about everything in a newspaper in just an hour. So some of the top stories, of course, everywhere on the front page it says Kashmir mein 3 saal ka sabse bada hamla, Colonel Major DSP Shaheed. You've got a commanding officer, you've got a major, and you've got a DSP of the police that laid down their lives for the country. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a sad day. The security forces in Jammu and Kashmir, especially South Kashmir, are certainly poorer without our Jawans. We're going to touch upon that, throw some light on that, even as the final rites is something that people are expecting will take place today. Apart from that, the special session of the Parliament, Nancy, 17th is Prime Minister's birthday, which is a Sunday. Yeah. Again, Sundays are spoiled because, well, you got to come and cover the Prime Minister.
Yeah, there goes my weekend plans.
And apart from that, there is going to be the PM Vishwakarma Yojana, but right the next day, Monday 18th, right from next week onwards, you have the special session of the Parliament that is going to carry on till the 22nd. Lots happening on that front as well. We have a list of the bills that are going to be taken up. So we'll touch and talk about that. India parties, the INDIA bloc, they're essentially going to start their own rally in Bhopal. Yeah. And soon a seat sharing formula is going to be arrived at as well. On the other hand, Nipah outbreak. Nipah is something that people are already talking about. I don't know, where did I see it? It is front page news, as a matter of fact, in one of the newspapers in one of the dailies. We will talk about that. The cases have gone up. Cases have gone up to 9 now. Earlier it was just 2. And the death toll, well, the latest details on that coming on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we're also going to talk about how the Supreme Court has told the government that you must set up guidelines to stop media trials. And I'm saying this even as, we're learning that Raghav Chaddha has come out and said that all these anchors that are trying to, spit venom and, trying to spread hatred, INDIA leaders will stop going to these, channels and these debates, not panels. And they're going to boycott these anchors. So, I mean, well, more room for us. Raghav Chaddha, you're always welcome here. I mean, we don't like to spread hatred, only facts, true facts, nothing but the facts. All right, next up, we're also going to talk about the 32,000 home buyers for which relief has come because the resolution plan for the Jaypee projects has been approved. Jaypee mein itne log hain, Nancy, trust you me, and you've got a couple of buildings right across the road, where you've got Sector 125, the Jaypee Wish Town, the entire expanse of it for kilometers. I mean, to your left, it's just the Jaypee Wish Town. But you see, how dilapidated those buildings look from the outside, how it looks like it's going to take another 10 years to construct it. Until it gets constructed, it looks like a nuclear, ruin, like somebody dropped in a bomb. All right, so we'll talk about that. On the other hand, when we're talking about, cracks and dilapidated buildings, a crack has appeared in the Badrinath Shrine's main gate. People are talking about Joshimath, people are talking about the Chamoli district, people are talking about subsidence, landslides, God knows what. And इस case में तो particularly भगवान ही बता पाएंगे because the ASI has started doing its repair. Badrinath Shrine main gate that has developed some cracks. On the other hand, the Indian Air Force, yesterday we saw those visuals of
C295.
C295 from Spain, from Sevilla. That was flown in, and these are some 16 set of 16 aircraft. पहला वाला जो है वो हमारे Indian Air Force के Indian Air Force लेकर आ रही है. It's bringing it back, and the induction program, the formal induction is going to happen. It's a magnificent plane. We're going to show you visuals of that, so do stay on and tune in right till the end. On the other hand, Libya, never easy talking about Libya. That death toll in Derna flooding could reach 20,000.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? And this is only happening because 2 dams collapsed completely. You had flooding, you suddenly had a storm, and then 2 dams collapsed.
And now 20,000 people are missing, and this is just numbers on the records.
My goodness, my goodness. On the other hand, Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, well, they discussed Ukraine war and satellites. Many said one of the parties want artillery, on the other hand, the other wants food supplies and food security. So what's going to happen on that front, we'll have to wait and find out. Unprecedented rains pound Hong Kong, schools shut as Met Department issues fresh warning, and Hong Kong is another one of those places. You know, capitalist reflex, sustainable development, getting the middle path, extreme weather events, fire in Spain, volcanic eruptions. We saw them this year again. You've got flooding, deluge-like flooding in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. What's really happening? Every other day, the Met Department comes up with a new and weirder red alert.
Yeah, and you know, the climate change is real thing, and I think it's high time to understand that this is happening. We have to, you know, be as much as careful we can with the resources and with the environment, because if something like this happens, we have seen that Libya was destroyed in just like a day or two. 10,000, 20,000 people are missing. In Morocco, we saw the earthquake, and the town is just, it disappears. So, entire civilization is just wiped out like that. So,
right. Let's begin with the first and the top story across all newspapers. This is something that is common, and we must talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. Army Colonel, a major, and a Jammu and Kashmir DSP die fighting in Pakistan-backed terrorists. Soldier, 5 cops have been injured. The TRF has claimed the attack. I'm just going to take a look at what the Times of India is saying, and then we'll go across to Nancy for what other national dailies are telling us. Colonel Manpreet Singh and Major Ashish Dhonchak of the 19 Rashtra Rifles, the RR, and the DSP of Jammu and Kashmir police, Humayun Bhatt of the J&K police, lost their lives during a fierce gunfight with terrorists in the forest surrounding Gadul village of Kokarnag in Anantnag district on the intervening night of Tuesday and Wednesday. The terrorists are suspected to be from the Resistance Front, the TRF, a shadow group of the Pakistan-backed Lashkar-e-Taiba. A soldier and 5 policemen were wounded in the shootout, which is still ongoing. Let's not forget. Now, on the 10th of August, 2 civilians and a soldier had suffered shrapnel wounds from a grenade explosion during an operation to flush out terrorists hiding in the woods in the same village. Altogether, 116 Army, CAPF and J&K police personnel have been killed in terrorism-related attacks in Kashmir zone and 24 in the Jammu region from August 5, 2019 to August 1 this year. So in 3 years, this is the biggest attack that Jammu and Kashmir and the security forces have seen.
Yeah, and I remember when the news broke out and the visuals were coming in of, the bodies they were taken to, for the last ceremony. I think it was something that, saddened me to the core, that it was so difficult to see, the families receiving the bodies. I mean, whenever something like this happens, it shakes you to your core that, soldiers are, the army is out there. I mean, big salute to them that they're going out there, they're protecting us from it. And then I was reading about it. I think it's there in the Indian Express as well. There's, a little bit about who they were, who these heroes were, and it says that the commanding officer was a decorated officer of the Sikh Light Infantry and was commanding the 19 Rashtriya Rifles unit based in Konlag. He received the Sena Medal in 2021. He was from Punjab's Mohali district, and he has a 6-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter that we're talking about. But who was another, major who got, I think he was the SP Ham, Ghulam Hassan's son. He also had a son who was just a month old, and he got married just year and a half ago. So I mean, when things like this happen, and it happens so fast, and actually there were two terror encounters happening in Jammu Kashmir. First was in Rajouri, and the second one was in this district as well.
And you know what, ladies and gents, all of you who are watching this show right now, let me give you some positive news on that front. This is a microblogging website post on X by the Kashmir Zone Police, and I'm going to quickly read it out. It says, in a solemn tribute to the unwavering valor of Colonel Manpreet Singh, Major Ashish Dhonak and DSP Humayun Bhatt, who laid down their lives leading from the front during this ongoing operation, our forces persist with unwavering resolve as they encircle the two Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists, including Uzair Khan. Now, who is Uzair Khan? Nancy, Uzair Khan is district commander of Lashkar-e-Toiba in Anantnag in Kokarnag.
Okay, so we have some development, some good news that we have, that
Absolutely.
we now have
and
the terrorists.
You know, their lives that they've laid down for protecting the country, they will certainly not go down in vain.
Yeah, definitely.
That's for sure. Absolutely there. Of course, the brave hearts and the pictures that we have here on the on the big screen. But the final rites is something that we're expecting everywhere. Just sad stories that you can see of regret and of resentment. It says here, Bhatt की पिछले साल ही शादी हुई थी, हुमायूं भट्ट के जानने पर रोते परिवारजन. And Humayun Bhatt, who got married just last year, the way the families began flailing, you just couldn't help yourself but shed a tear when you saw the family react.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could hear them screaming, wailing, and it was just so, I think the whole nation cried last night with them, because this was something which was so unexpected. Because first we had like the news that the commanding officer is not there. Then we lost the major, then we lost the SP as well. So I think it happened so quickly, and we lost three important inputs from the J&K army, and I think fighting terrorism is such a big, and Kashmir's condition is not improving at all, and they have raising alerts in the South Kashmir again.
So commanding officer, a major and a DSP of the police, let us do our fair bit. Let me introduce you to the three brave hearts that have put down their lives in honor of protecting the country. In the line of duty, they were killed after being shot during a joint operation of the J&K police and the army in Garol forest of Kokarnag in the Anantnag district. Colonel Manpreet Singh, ladies and gentlemen, आइए इनसे रूबरू हों. Commanding officer of the 19 Rashtriya Rifles, belonging to the 12th Sikh Light Infantry, was shot while leading his team from the front, ladies and gentlemen. On the other hand, he was decorated with the Sena Medal for heroism in counter-terror operations on Independence Day in 2021. That's the Kashmir Zone Police post that I was talking about, where they're saying that our forces have persisted with unwavering resolve as they encircle the two LET terrorists, Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists, including Uzair Khan, who's the leading commander in the Kokarnag Anantnag area. Moving on, Major Ashish Dhonchak. Meet the man, ladies and gentlemen. Belonging to the 15th Sikh Light Infantry, he was decorated with Sena Medal for heroism in counter-terror operations just a few weeks ago on Independence Day in 2023, this very year, ladies and gentlemen. Deputy Superintendent Humayun M. Bhatt, the DSP of Jammu and Kashmir Police, was the father of a 2-month-old daughter. He was the son of a retired Inspector General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, Ghulam Hassan Bhatt, and got married only last year, Nancy.
Yeah, and he has a month-year-old son as well. I mean, I can't even think about what the family is going through right now. But Kabir, if you look at the big picture right now, south of Kashmir is one of the targeted where the terrorist activities have been on spurge.
They're saying it's very peculiar, and why so? But why so? Why is South Kashmir, they say it's a very, an area full of forests and the topography includes a forest land and the mountains. But why is South Kashmir being targeted now?
Why? That is what we are. I was just reading that excerpt only in the Indian Express. They have done a report on it that it is a reminder from South Kashmir that situation is still worse here, and they are saying that the casualty in the Wednesday's attack, top official pointed out, was because of the retaliation by terrorists trapped in the area. So it was not a targeted attack that usually happens in the valley. And unlike the strikes to the south of Punjab, where have been targeted attacks, defense official has said that the number of terrorists had gone down over a period of time. In the Kashmir region, operation by the security forces had been continuing. Data available until June showed that the local recruitment of terrorists in J&K had been reducing since 2020, yet the activities are on the spurge. So even if they are not recruiting that much, but that area that we are talking about, the South Kashmir, that has always been one of the targeted areas of activities, one of the hotspots of terrorist activities. And this attack was because they were trapped and they were retaliating, and the army official, they spotted them, and then the gunfight broke out in between them. And it says that data showed that these 36 local terrorists and 71 foreign terrorists were present in the valley in May 2023, and the number in the corresponding period in Jammu and Kashmir stood at 13 local territories and 2 foreign territories. So even after Article 370, or even after governments their efforts to normalize, to bring back, to eradicate terrorism from south of Kashmir, I don't think so.
Right.
We are going anywhere right now, because the numbers are showing that the situation is getting worse again.
Well, let's not jump the gun on that, Nancy. Particularly, ever since the abrogation of Article 370, people on the ground feel like they feel much more safer in Jammu and Kashmir. Of course, South Kashmir is that area that I mean, just look at those visuals. You have to feel for the family, for the grieving family. This is how the Tribune puts it. Commanding officer, Major DSP among 4 dead in J&K gunfight. They come under fire of ultras hiding in Anantnag forest during joint operations between the army and the Jammu and Kashmir police. Colonel Manpreet Singh, who belonged to Mohali, Major Ashish Dhonchak, who belonged to Panipat. DSP Himayu Bhatt was son of a retired DIG of the Kashmir police. Now there's a father's salute. There's a picture of, and we were just showing those visuals as well, of the ex-DIG, GH Bhatt, who paid tribute to his son Humayun's mortal remains. One soldier is still missing. The whereabouts of another soldier weren't immediately known and was feared seriously wounded. The gunfight erupted during a counter-insurgency operation at Gadul village in Anantnag. Colonel Manpreet Singh was killed on the spot. Major Dhonchak and DSP Humayu Bhatt succumbed to their bullet injuries later. Commanding officers that were killed in encounters. In May 2020, Colonel Ashutosh Sharma was amongst the 5 security personnel killed in Handwara gunfight. In November 2015, Colonel Santosh Mahadik of the 41 RR was killed in Kupwara encounter. Meanwhile, what's more and what's worse is that Colonel Manpreet Singh was a second-generation soldier who laid down his life. Major Dhonchak was slated to visit his home, go back to his home for his birthday in October, and completely heart-wrenching scenes as Humayu Bhatt was laid to rest. And you saw how the father came in, the former DIG of Jammu and Kashmir Police. Aerial ops, meanwhile, have been launched, ladies and gentlemen, in South Kashmir to hunt down these ultras. Lashkar-e-Toiba outfit has claimed responsibility, but the latest development is that tweet that we just showed you. That tweet that says that the forces have persisted and they have encircled 2 Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists in the area, including Uzair Khan. That's the tweet on your television screens and your mobile screens, whatever screens you're watching this stream on, essentially. And get down in the comment sections about what you feel when you read about the 3 brave hearts who have laid their lives down for the nation, for the country, for our protection, for your protection. South Kashmir, that's a big, big issue, Nancy. But today, I think the country should mourn and remember these 3 brave hearts, the pictures of which that you can see on your screens, ladies and gentlemen.
Definitely.
Ashish Dhonchak over there.
I think Jammu
Salute
Kashmir
to
police,
all 3 of them, certainly.
Definitely. I mean, I think J&K police is not going to let the sacrifice of these brave soldiers go in vain in any way, because I think what they did for the country, and I think the whole country is proud of them right now. We are saluting them. My heart goes out to the family who are suffering the loss. And I think my heart goes out for the country because it's a loss for the nation right now. And I think the most concerning for me was that when the casualty happened in the first initial firing, and the police officer who gave the report, he said that surprisingly the terrorists were strategically, they covered the area so strategically, which is very concerning right now, because when we talk about terrorism, the only upper hand that army officials or trained police officer have, that they had the training, they are professionals. But what happens when you encounter terrorism attacks, when there is encounter happening and the terrorists are also trained and they are so professionals? I mean, somebody have to go to the deep root, that where this recruitment is happening, where this training is happening.
Radicalization, how can that be uprooted?
Yeah.
What kind of ways can the security forces infiltrate it further? Because even the visuals that we get, Nancy, they're not exactly from the time when the encounter was on. Because it's a search and cordon, it's a dangerous area. You can't expect the media personnel to be embedded at such a great level. But it just kills you to read something like this. Major Dhanchak was to visit home for birthday in October. In October, Humayun Bhatt got married just last year, has a 2-month-old infant child. Manpreet, I was reading that for the longest time they did not tell
his wife
about his demise.
And you can see the reactions in the video that were coming, the visuals that were coming in last night, that utter shock, and the whole village, they all gathered around for to see the last glimpse of a hero. And I think their sacrifice cannot go in vain.
Well, so the last rites of the Jammu and Kashmir DSP, who was killed in Anantnag encounter, were performed in Budgam. Meanwhile, what you can see are visuals of, you can see G.H. Bhatt, sabse aage, sabse samne, supporting his own son's mortal remains. Rest in peace, soldier.
हर आदमी समझता है तर्जमा है हर इंसान को, हर जी रूह को, जिससे ज्यादा अक्लमंद इंसान वो है जो आखिरत की तैयारी में दुनिया में लगा रहे.
Carried out yesterday, last night. These are visuals that you're seeing from Budgam. Every time I look at something like this, Nancy, it's always difficult to come up with the right words to describe the situation. But I'll tell you what, at this time, people talk about the brave hearts who laid down their lives, but the families are equally brave,
Yeah.
The families are equally brave. They know that this sword is always continuously hanging on their head.
I think, how the saying goes, that the wife of the soldier has to be braver than, she has to show bravery than the soldier. I mean,
more than the soldier. You're absolutely right. And you have to, feel for these families. Well, so in the last 3 years, the biggest attack on security forces, ladies and gentlemen, was carried out in Kokarnag in Anantnag, where you had a colonel, a major and a DSP who got killed in the line of duty, laid down their lives for the nation, protecting the nation, succumbing to bullet injuries in the line of duty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring you all the latest details from Jammu and Kashmir on this particular story. जाहिर सी बात है, जवाब करारा दिया जाएगा और जल्दी दिया जाएगा. Developments also suggest that two LET terrorists have been encircled. One of them is Uzair Khan, the leading commander in the Anantnag area. Their lives will not go in vain, that's for sure. All right, moving on, let's take a look at some other developments. And I'm reading here another news that's quite commonly covered across all pages is the special session of the Parliament. Now, a lot of things that are going to be taken up in the special session of the Parliament, Nancy. But all these pictures of the Prime Minister yesterday visiting the BJP headquarters in the national capital and the grand welcome that the Prime Minister got. One question I want to ask the Prime Minister's driver is that, how is he driving with all the flowers that come on the windshield? I mean, does he have cameras that are placed? Maybe he doesn't even have to look outside. That's how good his skills are. Because the petals that are showered on the Prime Minister, even inside the BJP HQ, I mean, they were excited about just receiving the Prime Minister for the Central Election Committee, meet. PM Modi नए सांसद भवन पर 17 सितंबर को झंडारोहण करेंगे. So there's going to be a proper inauguration on the 17th of September at the new Sansad Bhavan. विशेष सत्र का एजेंडा जारी, 4 बिल आएंगे, राज्यसभा में 2 पहले ही पारित. So 4 bills that are going to be introduced during the special parliament session. Do we have a list of what these 4 bills are essentially?
Well, on the top of my head, I remember there is obviously the most controversial, the bill on the CEC and the selection of the election commissioners. Then we have one advocates amendment bill, and then we have one periodic media periodic bill that is going to also be taken up, which are being passed in Rajya Sabha already. So I think, but the debate is going to center around the bill on the CECs that we are talking about, because that is something that the opposition has always, they are opposing it for the longest time. And in the Rajya Sabha also there has been a debate about it, because we'll talk about the bill later in detail. But I think these the center of the discussion is going to be the CEC bill, and maybe they might raise some other important discussions and topics, because I have seen that opposition is not very much satisfied with the special agenda on the parliament. Jairam Ramesh took on X and he posted that this helps us in any way possible. This does nothing, because the session is in about 5 days, and now you're releasing the agenda, and the agenda is also not clear.
Basically, you haven't given the opposition time to deliberate and prepare themselves and strategize themselves. But before that, पहले बात कर लेते हैं कि exactly what are these 4 bills that are going to be introduced in the special session of the parliament. 17th, what we're learning, PM Modi नए सांसद भवन पर 17 सितंबर को झंडारोहण करेंगे. 17th September is also the Prime Minister's birthday, let's not forget. So on his birthday, he's either meeting the people, the Jawans in Kargil. The Prime Minister is either releasing a set of new cheetahs at Kuno National Park. It's always something special and big. All right, छोटे मोटे काम नहीं करते प्रधानमंत्री मोदी.
True.
The Prime Minister is going to, of course, inaugurate the Jhandarohan. I don't know the literal translation into English for Jhandarohan, but a flag hosting ceremony or something like that is going to be carried out at the new Parliament building on the 17th, which is also going to be just a day ahead of the new Parliament session. I have the list with me. Thoda gaur farmayega. The title of the bills are the Advocates Amendment Bill 2023, passed by the Rajya Sabha on the 3rd of August. The bill as passed by Rajya Sabha on 3rd of August was laid on the table of the Lok Sabha on the 4th of August. Considering for passing, it is still kept there. The second bill is the Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill 2023. It was passed by the Rajya Sabha on the 3rd of August. The bill as passed by the Rajya Sabha on 3rd of August was laid on the table of Lok Sabha on the 4th of August. It is also considering a passing. And then moving on, we also have bill number 3, which is the Post Office Bill 2023, Nancy. It was introduced in the Rajya Sabha on the 10th of August. Consideration and passing after it is passed by the Rajya Sabha and laid on the table of the Lok Sabha. That is what it's left. And finally, the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners' appointment, conditions of service and terms of office Bill 2023, introduced in the Rajya Sabha on the 10th of August 2023. Abhi tak wahi hai. Consideration and passing after it is passed by the Rajya Sabha and then laid in front of the lower house of the parliament. So the two bills that are already there with the parliament, with the Lok Sabha, are of course the Advocates Amendment Bill and the Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill 2023. What kind of effect will this make on day-to-day activities? Because I'm trying to make sense of the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners appointment, conditions of service and term of service Bill 2023. What is this going to be about? CEC के बारे में बात की गई है उधर से।
Yeah, so basically, if we just to give viewers the brief of what the CEC bill is. So after Modi came into power, the Supreme Court said that the selection committee, the members of the selection committee who are going to appoint the election commissioners are going to be of 3 people. There is going to be the Chief Justice of India, then we have the Prime Minister of course, and then we are going to have a leader of opposition. Now BJP went in and now they are with this bill on CEC bill. They are saying कि आप Chief Justice जो हैं आप उनको replace कर दीजिए, and it is going to be a cabinet minister who is going to be appointed by the Prime Minister. So they are trying to the selection leader of opposition is there. Chief Justice will be replaced by a cabinet minister, and then we'll have Prime Minister Modi. So they're going to create a monopoly in the selection committee as well. So then there is going to be 2 versus 1, because obviously the cabinet minister is not going to defy whatever
the Prime Minister is saying.
Whatever the Prime Minister is saying. So it's raising concern about the process of democracy, that we are choosing election commissions, which has to be it has to be a very independent process. So CJI is there. If the CJI is there, he could make sure, he or she could make sure that nothing undemocratic or something, the law is followed. But if you replace CJI with a cabinet minister, I mean that is going to raise concern, and I think opposition is going to going to go on it. And although the ruling party is saying that when the bill was proposed, they are saying that the leader of opposition is going to be there. We are going to make sure that there is going to be a rightful conduct. The selection the member are going to lay out principles. They are going to give proper reasoning for choosing the election commissioners. But I feel like this is something that is, I'm really excited to see the debates, what the opposition has to say about the bill and how the centre is going to defend the ruling party. How are they going to defend the bill? So I think this is one of the most, I think Jairam Ramesh also tweeted out, he also said the same thing. He is going to say, see, the agenda is not clear to us right now. What is 75 years of parliament, celebrating experience and all of that. And he's like, but we are going to talk on the CEC, that is going to be our main agenda in the parliamentary session. We are going to oppose it and we are going to talk about it, that this is something that is going to harm the process of democracy, because voting is the festival that we say in democracy, and if we are going to breach that process and make it a less more equitable, then it's going to raise concern in the democracy. So I think it's going to be an interesting debate, Kabir.
No, 110% is going to be an interesting debate. It's going to be interesting to look at the proceedings of the of the new parliament building. Number one, let me tell you, the new parliament building, apart from the politics or the discussions that are carried out inside it, looks beautiful. Looks beautiful. People are also saying, अब इसमें मजा नहीं आएगा, इसमें जगह नहीं है to throw chairs, इसमें जगह नहीं है to raise those placards. It's going to be more organized. That's what people were worried about. कि वो पुराना पार्लियामेंट वाला जज्बा मजा नहीं, वो फील नहीं आएगी, वाइब नहीं आएगा. But well, we had to move on. According to Hardeep Singh Puri, the rooms were, the ceiling was falling apart in the old parliament building. But of course, we mentioned the 4 bills that are going to be taken up. The 75 years of the parliament's journey, that is something that people are going to, throw light on. Of course, a speech and a remark by the Prime Minister is something that is expected. While the agenda outlined by the government on Wednesday was unexceptional and included legislation in various stages of discussions already in the parliament, sources said there could still be some surprises and something more substantive over the 5 days of the session. Opposition leaders also expressed their apprehension that the government may have something up its sleeve. What could this be? We were reading about One Nation, One Poll yesterday. कैसे पैनल ने रामनाथ कोविंद जी को और deliberations के बारे में बताया. Is that something that might prop up?
I mean, it could be. It's one of the important issues. I mean, Meghwal has, listed out, Arjun Ram Meghwal, he listed out all the cons and pros of the One Nation, One Poll. Ki, these are the cons of this policy, these are the pros of this policy. But again, these kind of policies, it's a big change for the country because we are a democracy. We believe in federalism, we believe in state, then we believe in multiple elections at multiple levels because it gives independent powers to governments at different levels. But when you come up with One Nation, One Poll thing, so you are questioning the structure totally. So it's a big change, and I think to get it passed, I'm just excited to see the discussions around it. How are people going to I think I'm sure that there is going to be a resolution as well. There is going to be discussion about the name of the country as well. That India-Bharat debate is going to be there. This opposition is not going to let that slide easily like that, you cannot just come and change the name of the country. And BJP is also, the ruling party, the government is also going to, counter it. So it's going to be, there are some important, aspects to it that they are going to talk about. But I feel like...
even as you speak about it, take a look at this. One Nation, One Election, first meet of COVID-led panel likely next week.
Yeah.
So, as soon as next week, it's going to be, the COVID-led panel is going to meet up. So basically next week is going to be, we're looking at the parliamentary session itself by 18th. Next week. So not so soon, maybe not so soon, right?
Yeah. And I think with the Lok Sabha elections and the state elections coming up, this parliament session has to be, the guiding force of, if we are going to see the proceedings, whatever they say, what bills are going to get passed, what agenda is going to be put up by the opposition alliance is something very interesting because then crucial at a time when, elections are just around the corner with the state elections coming up as well in, Rajasthan, Punjab and every state. So I think it's going to be very important that we take a look at it. And there's also on 17th of September, there's a, CEC meeting of the BJP as well. So I think they are preparing.
Lots happening on the 17th of September. Again, the Prime Minister is going to go to the BJP HQ on his birthday, and a lot of other stuff that the Prime Minister is going to do on his birthday, apart from launching the PM Vishwakarma Yojana that is going to end up helping 30 lakh artisans in about 5 years' time across various subsidized loans and skilling programs. A special show on that is also being done on News 9. You can catch it if you tune in at the right time. Meanwhile, take a look at this, Nancy, and let's move on to the next segment because usi parliament mein the opposition is also going to be there. Now the opposition alliance, the INDIA bloc, take a look at this. It says here, INDIA bloc to start seat sharing talks. Caste census is high on agenda. Coming from the INDIA bloc. What's more is that Madhya Pradesh, which is going to polls, the INDIA bloc are going to begin rallying there starting first week of October.
In Bhopal, yeah.
In Bhopal.
And they are going to decide on the seat sharing as well, which is, I think, is very important right now because now it's high time. Now it's time that we get it that you have an united front, but now let's talk about logistics. And talking about that unity and all, I was just reading here that Omar Abdullah just made a statement. He came out and he said that, I have proposed that the seats that are already held by the members of India bloc should not open for discussion. So, जिनके पास अपनी सीट है, let's not meddle with that. जो बच गई है seats, let's have a discussion on that.
What do you think? Is that a smart way of looking at it? Because nobody wants to give up their, own bastion.
Yeah, but again, you are proposing a united front. You are going to fight NDA. वहाँ पे तो full भाईचारा है कि everybody, कि नहीं seat sharing is not a discussion.
Raghav Chadha has come out and he said that INDIA alliance doesn't mean uniformity on all decisions.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean first vote कि आज सब दाल चावल खाएंगे, अच्छा हाँ सब दाल चावल खाएंगे, सबके लिए दाल चावल बना दीजिए.
But Kabir, do you think that if they go around like this, it's fine that we are not going to meddle with the seats that already have. So there is going to be one or the other regional party who will have an upper hand. So how is that a united front? Because I think
they have to give the regional parties their fair space as well in this alliance.
But Omar Abdullah is saying that we are not going to meddle with the seats that are already there. So I think this is going to be one interesting task for the opposition bloc, that how are they going to decide on the seats, because every regional party and everybody wants to, we don't have the candidate for the PM now, and every regional party, we can see banners of Mamta Banerjee, कि हमें ममता दीदी as PM चाहिए. Then
yesterday she was speaking to the Sri Lankan leader
and he asked,
and
he asked her also,
will you be the leader of the INDIA bloc?
And she replied, oh my God.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's hope. Let's
So,
hope.
yeah.
Whatever the people want, we'll do whatever the people want. It says here opposition leaders, they clicked their photograph and you can see pretty much most of them. Omar Abdullah was there, Tejashwi Yadav, Sanjay Raut, I can see on the picture. And this is apparently at Sharad Pawar's Delhi residence. You've got Mehbooba Mufti in the frame. You've got JMM representation, Chief Minister of Jharkhand, Hemant Soren. And that's the meeting that the visuals that you can see on your screens, ladies and gents. First meeting that took place yesterday. Good things to come, bad things to come, smarter politics, ugly politics, dirty politics. Well, we'll have to wait and find out. But Bhopal में सबसे पहले इनकी rally होने वाली है, and seat sharing is going to begin soon. Omar Abdullah, like you pointed out, has said that let's not meddle with people who already are sitting on these bastions. Let's not meddle with their seats. The INDIA bloc is going to start the seat sharing talks, and caste census, it seems, is again high on agenda. So we'll have to wait and find out as to what happens next. 17th is when the Parliament, the Prime Minister is going to do the, the flag hoisting session in the Parliament, and 18th is when the special session of the Parliament is going to begin, and the opposition alliance is going to be ready for it, it seems. Well, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at what other stories we have for you. What to do next? I was thinking we should talk about what the Supreme Court said in terms of media personnel's guidelines. But more importantly, I think on the front page it talks about Nipah virus in the Hindu. Yes, there you have it. Nipah virus again, not to spread fear, but just to tell people what the virus actually is, what it does, how you should be worried about this Nipah virus, and why it's peculiar to Kerala, the state being vulnerable to Nipah outbreaks. Now, Nipah cases rise to 5 in Kerala. Yesterday, the number was just 2. There were 2 deaths and 2 people getting in contact with, the virus. 789 contacts have been kept under watch because contact tracing has been real swift. That is what we picked up from COVID-19. You know what, Nancy? Healthcare workers latest to test positive in Kozhikode. State Health Department releases a route map of the 2 deceased persons detailing their travel histories for treatment of these patients.
I mean, it's important that we are now so careful that I think Kerala government is doing whatever they can to prevent this, because viruses like this, it's just a matter of time that they will see, an outbreak when the situation can go out of control any minute. And that is what I think we have learned. You correctly pointed it out, that the COVID-19 outbreak, because we have to be careful, and I'm really glad that they made a list of the contact persons. 700 people are already on the target. So anything can happen, and cases are rising. Death toll is not that much right now. Yesterday, if we see 4 cases, 2 deaths, that's a 50% death rate. But now that I hope that if the death rates don't go up, then and we can find a treatment to this virus, then I think we'll be able to, this is another, I just don't want to say it, but I don't want to convert it into another pandemic.
It's not, because it's not. Let's stick to the facts. It's not a pandemic. Most certainly not even an outbreak per se, but this is how people are carrying it. That's the word that the medical bodies are also using. I was yesterday speaking to 2 doctors, one a public health expert, one a state president of Kerala for the Indian Medical Association, and both those doctors had to say that number one, there's not a lot of research that has been done. The hypothesis that these jump zones, now jump zones are essentially areas where these bats, because it is basically a bat-borne disease. I mean, it happens from the saliva of infected pigs and their blood and their urine. but it's usually from fruit-eating bats who then bite into the fruit, and the saliva that they leave inside the fruit gets transferred into the humans. Now, these areas, because of our heavy construction and cutting down of forests, you know, these areas where these bats actually live, these jump zones, which is on the eastern side of you know, Kerala, that it is a plausible hypothesis that is one reason why it happens in Kerala so much. But another reason is that the doctor said that the Kozhikode area, there's a lot of wildlife over there. The ecosystem of Kozhikode is something that can be studied. Apart from that, WHO has said that there is no vaccine for it, right? There are some drugs, that can be used to treat this, some monoclonal and you know, antibodies, some vaccines, monoclonal vaccines that can be used, but no particular vaccine, a hardcore vaccine for Nipah virus. Now, why is that? It's because ज़्यादा लोगों को होता नहीं, तो why spend that kind of money on research? And well, you know, primarily that's actually the only reason. Why spend all that money on research that is going to go to waste? You're not going to expect 140 crore Indians to suddenly take the vaccination. But it does require a study. We must understand and learn what Nipah virus is.
I mean, when you know something like this happens, even at
Nipah virus can also lead to coma and encephalitis in some severe cases. So it's not something that's not dangerous. It's dangerous, and what's more, you can't distinguish whether you're getting a common viral fever, common flu, or is it Nipah virus.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, viruses like this, whenever it happens, you know, it's important to control the information so much, because you know, at COVID we saw, you know, the kind of you know, because everybody was stuck at home, and then we had this, you know, information on social media, on YouTube coming out कि आप ये कर लो, आप वो कर लो, उससे COVID ठीक हो जाएगा. People lost their lives due to it. You cannot just, you know, crush paracetamol and throw it in a shake and then you will drink it and you will get better. So, you know, misinformation like this also are on the rise, but I think we have learned our lessons. That is why thank you for clarifying it, that, you know, it is spreaded by, you know, bats who eat fruit, because last night I was reading an article and it said that, you know, Kerala government is making strict, you know, checks on all the fruits that are coming into the states. They're keeping a check on it, and all the fruits that are exporting out of the state as well, that, you know, it doesn't you know, spread to another neighboring states, or, you know, goes out of Kerala right now. So I think it's important that people know this much, and, you know, government of Kerala is trying their best to control this, and, you know, so that not more people have to lose their life in this Nipah virus case.
You're absolutely right. And Veena George had said that, you know, yesterday central teams were rushed into Kerala. The entire area of Kozhikode is under high alert. Like we're reading here, 789 people, 789 contacts kept under watch. Logo ka phone check kara gaya. The victims, the two people who succumbed to the Nipah virus, unka phone check kiya gaya. How many contacts they had on their phone, contacted everybody personally, checked who they met with. You know, that's how strictly and swiftly the Kerala government actually worked. Moreover, more than that, there are special teams that have been deployed in these various areas to check on the fruits, like you mentioned, to check on what kind of fruit is being you know, exported, is being sent out, what kind of fruit is coming in, and these eastern areas, these jump zones. So you got to look at the jump zones, you got to look at how there is plausible hypotheses available for you to study and put in the right kind of money, place your priorities right, essentially, and studying the ecosystem of Kozhikode as well. Yesterday we even heard Union Minister Mansukh Mandavia, he's taken cognizance of the fact of what's happening in Kerala. But even with COVID-19, even with you know, Nipah virus, another aspect that one has to look at is that Kerala has 5 international airports, Nancy, and everybody is coming in and out.
Yeah, so it's going to, it's a one of the reason why we're talking about why Kerala is vulnerable to these cases, is because of that, because, you know, it's a, you know, you have port city as well, it's a, you know, international flights as well. So, you know, the chances of, you know, viruses coming in from across the border is also possible. So at this point, I think Kerala government is doing the best they can to prevent it from, you know, breaking out into something dangerous and affecting the whole country with it. So I hope that we find a cure to this and a way to prevent ourselves from this Nipah virus.
Absolutely, and please don't you know, panic, don't be scared. Cover yourselves, you know, cover your faces with the face mask that we have been doing for so long. People here in the national capital will begin doing it in any case, because it's October, and in the winters that's our second hobby. But you know, clean, boil the saps before you eat them, wash the fruits nicely before you eat them. If your fruit has a bite mark, then refrain from buying that particular fruit. People living outside Kerala. For people living in Kerala, the government is doing enough. Spreading awareness and community engagement is the prime need, and the way one can prevent a major outbreak of the Nipah virus. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. Now, the Supreme Court has told, has asked for media personnels to set up guidelines to stop media trials.
Yeah. And they've
told the government to set up guidelines for media to stop media trials of people on their own.
And I think the Supreme Court is absolutely right, and they said that this kind of media trials, they deflect you from the, they deflect you from the course of jurisdiction, because we tend to create opinions, out of the limited information that we have, and Supreme Court has said this to the media, that don't share half-baked information with media as well. They have asked the cops, and they have referred to the 2010 advisory, that 2010 guidelines warn the police against unnecessary release of the details in the first 48 hours of the crime. So don't go out doing a press conference and don't give out half-baked information. Let the case get cleared out, have the details ironed out first of all, then go to the media, because public opinions, when you create public opinions, it's just a matter of time that even if Supreme Court has the right facts, if they give a hearing, if they give an order that is not going, that the public doesn't understand, then there is no point in that. The justice doesn't feel like justice. So I think Supreme Court was just correct and apt to say that right to free speech is there.
The credibility of the media as well, Nancy. I mean, that is something that the entire industry has to work on. Certainly, Godi media is that one word that just keeps, thrown across.
Yeah.
You go across in a public gathering and people start asking what you do, what do you do, what do you do, what do you do, and then you tell them you're a journalist, and the next word that comes across to you, and the looks you get. Of course, you're absolutely right. No matter how hard you toil inside the newsroom to put across, a non-biased report out, you're just simply put in that category. But that's not going to break our resolve, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Not here at News 9. We're going to continue to bring you top-notch journalism, because that's what we do. On the other hand, coming back to the story, you think it's a welcome step. Now, what kind of guidelines can the government create here? Couldn't this be another way for the government to curb the voice of the media again?
I mean, definitely.
It's going to be a sensitive parlay.
Yeah, because media, we are talking about media here. It's the fourth pillar of democracy. It stands with the government. It's independent of the government. And now you're asking...
The watchdog of democracy.
Yeah, and now the Supreme Court is asking, media trials cannot, we have to be very careful with the media trials. Don't share the information with them. But again, it comes to that everybody has right to information. And, we can say that the bench has said that all DGPs in a month should communicate to Ministry of Home Affairs their suggestions for the guidelines of National Human Rights Commission, suggesting one may also be taken. So now they are going to have a proper committee set up. They are going to give a proper set of guidelines to the cops and to the people who are involved, whoever is involved in the case. This kind of information can only go out. If you are not sure about the information, if there is a half-baked information, you cannot share it with the media, because then the media is tend to take that information, create an opinion out of it, and then going to disrupt the discourse of justice as we are talking about. So I think it's important that, and it has also said that there can be no denying that the fact that disclosure of official version of the investigation would ensure against speculation on crime reporting. Thus, there is a need to have a uniform policy which can be adopted for notifying nodal officers who would be available to share the stage of investigation. So they are saying that, we are doing it to benefit, enhance the democracy more, that have the right opinion, have the right information, then you can create a public opinion, that is fine. But creating public opinion on information, that is actually not true.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking in some cases the police has to, it is required in those cases when the situation is so tense that you have to come and speak to the, to the media and the people. 48 hours sometimes is too much.
Too much.
But at the same time, I understand where the Supreme Court is coming from, but I don't think there can be a set way, because each news story that comes is unique. The person who's presenting it, the person who's producing it, the person who's executing it is not the real hero. The story is the real hero, and all heroes in the newsroom are unique. We have to treat them in a unique manner, in a unique way. Of course, we can have some sort of a template, but I still feel the basic principles of ethical journalism are good enough to understand what is a media trial and what is not a media trial. One, it's about just crossing that little boundary or not, but there are many out there in the industry that I feel don't even know where that boundary is.
Yeah, I think it's the responsibility of the media as well that what we decide to
No,
give
certainly,
out.
certainly.
When we are the mediators, we cannot be formulating, half-baked information and mending it according to our opinion, and that is not what anybody should do or any media person should do. But I think Supreme Court's guideline is maybe, I don't think so. If there is going to be a proper, reform, or if the media trial stop, is there going to be a difference? If there's going to be, there's no disruption in the course of jurisdiction, something that I would like to see.
Well, let's wait and find out what these guidelines are going to be, because the Supreme Court has told the government to set up a few guidelines to prevent media trials. All right, let's move on. Big relief for 32,000 home buyers of the Jaypee group. Why? Well, what's happened on that front? Why is there relief for 32,000 people essentially, Nancy?
Sorry,
why is there relief for 32,000 people? I mean, these are home buyers, and now the court has come in to help them out.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something that, when we talk about real estate, when we talk about infrastructure things, it's part of the it's part of, the development structure that we talk about in the economy. It's very important that, you have to be, take care of these things, because when we talk about real estate, it's one of the, when we, look at it economically, in an economy, real estate, infrastructure, all of these things matters the most, because, stakes are so high when it comes to infrastructural thing and developmental process as well. So when we are talking, and as you were saying earlier in the show, that, if you go and see the, the way the projects are, constructions are going on for years and years now. People have invested so much of money and they are waiting that something might happen, but there are then this, you have to get this paperwork done, get that proposal done, this project is not legal, you have to take care of that, you have to take care of this. So when you invest so much money, and you have invested in while the stakes were up, and now it has been such a long period of time that the stakes has gone down now. So I think it was important that it's going to whoever, when you go out and when you buy a house, it's important that we are talking about a property here. So if anybody is invested in it, it's important that somebody gets that return as soon as possible. And I think the court was absolutely right to pass the resolution so that people can move on with their lives, and we can also move on that, because the construction will go on forever and ever. So we are not going to focus on important developmental infrastructure that are already pending in the city.
So there is a resolution plan in place for the 32,000 home buyers. That's the relief for the 32,000 home buyers of Jaypee. There's a resolution plan that is now, ladies and gentlemen, in the offing. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the India-US strategic partnership, which Joe Biden says has never been more dynamic. We're being told that the United States, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has spoken on Biden's recent visit to G20. He's also spoken about Quad and the economic corridor, that the Spice Route 2.0, spicing things up in the Middle East and Europe. Anthony Blinken now getting a fair share, maybe taking some a little portion of the footage over there for himself, because, well, you've got Jake Sullivan, you had Joe Biden, you've got Janet Yellen, everybody came to India. Anthony Blinken, किसी ने बात नहीं करी इतने दिन. Maybe he's feeling a little left out. But hey, I mean, they're all appreciating India, so we shouldn't mind that one bit.
I think Modi ka magic Anthony Blinken tak bhi finally पहुंच ही गया है, because I've seen after the G20, I have not seen one single country, saying anything against India. Everybody is just so happy to have good bilateral ties with India at this point, and Anthony Blinken correctly pointed it out that the India-US ties are so strong right now, the strategic and the defense, or in the energy sector, whether we talk about investment, whether we talk about technology transfer, whether we talk about defense technology. the way we have planned out and we have signed agreements with the US, I think it has never happened before, because the strategic ties, we have seen Biden and Modi walking around like they're best friends. So, and Modi is just so happy to see Biden, Biden is so happy to see Modi. I think these kind of, strong strategic ties with a developed country like US and a global economy is going to definitely strengthen India's economy as well, because these bilateral ties are very important for India at this point, because we are still developing country, and opening the gates, opening the market, especially with the economic corridor. We are finally reaching Europe without any, we have taken the third route. We don't need China, we don't need Pakistan, we'll go by our own. So it's going to, completely change the economy.
The Quad as well. The Quad, it's once happened in Japan, it's once happened in Australia. This time around, it's going to be India. So after the G20, we're also going to be hosting the Quad Summit.
Yeah, and here it says that Jayshankar may attend Quad SEO meet in New York also. So engagement likely on sideline of the UNGA meet. So Jayshankar will go there. So there are going to be a lot of talks. A lot of talks are happening, and people are reaching out. Other countries are reaching out to India so that they can have bilateral relations.
Would you like to read a little bit of a portion from that article, because it's interesting that Jayshankar is going to be in New York.
Yeah, the Foreign Minister S. Jayshankar is likely to participate in both Quad and Russia and China-led SEO meetings on the margins of the 78th session of the UN General Assembly later this month, during what will be the first visit abroad after the G20 summit in Delhi. Jayshankar was scheduled to travel to Cuba later this week for the G7 plus China Group Summit, but the plan was dropped after the announcement of the special session of the Parliament. So he cannot obviously go to the G7 plus because we have a very important special Parliament session going on. But he will now travel to New York after the Parliament session and address the UNGA high-level meetings on September 26. So on September 26, we'll have Jayshankar attending the SEO and Quad meetings. On the margins, the Quad and SEO countries are set to finalize dates for foreign ministers meeting. According to diplomat sources, efforts are also on to schedule a meeting of BRICS foreign ministers. So this will be the third time that the Quad foreign ministers will meet on the sidelines of the UNGA. So I think a lot of important talks between the foreign ministers are going to be happening. They are going to set agendas for the, because prime ministers and the obviously
look
the
at
world
that.
leaders.
Look at that friendship over there. That is what India-US ties.
That is what
means
Anthony
in
Blinken was
time.
talking about, the strong ties between, the candid and yet so playful. Look at them, the chemistry is just so on spot between Biden and Modi. They're so happy to be around each other, which is something that I think is, and here it says also, in Quad, in keeping with this multi-alignment strategy and the long-standing ties with Moscow, India remains the only country to not explicitly condemn the Russia-Ukraine war. So again, in Quad as well, in every summit as well, everybody they have got the message and the memo very clear that India is an independent country. India is not going to, get suppressed by, any global alliance. So now the leaders have come together, they have signed MOUs, they have signed agreements, they have signed, defense deal, technology deals. Now it's time for the foreign ministers to iron out the details and iron out the agendas of the, international summit. So I think it's going to be an interesting outcome of the
well, I'm
Quad
excited
and
for the
SEO
Quad
meets.
Summit. I've made a promise to myself. I'm definitely going to go cover it on from the ground. It is, one of those groupings that I really like. It's not really military, a military alliance, but at the same time, it does carry out naval exercises. So it's interesting to read what Australia, Japan, India, with the help of United States sitting on the other hand, can do for China, in the Indo-Pacific. It seems like a strategic alliance to tackle China. What's going to happen on the diplomatic front? Well, we're going to keep bringing you the latest details. Meanwhile, let's talk about the cracks that have appeared in the Badrinath shrine's main gate, even as the Archaeological Survey of India has begun its repairs. I'm just quickly reading out an e-copy of the Times of India. It says that TOI has exclusively learned that the cracks were first spotted a few weeks ago, although it was not revealed to the public. Initially, there were apprehensions that the cracks may be due to subsidence. Badrinath, because is just 40 kilometers from Joshimath, where the cracks have appeared in the houses and the entire subsidence activity took place, where large-scale subsidence happened earlier this year. However, ASI officials said they had sent a team which conducted a ground survey and found that the cracks were due to rain and other environmental factors, not essentially subsidence. So ज़मीन नहीं खिसक रही है नीचे से. Replacing iron clamps on wall of Singh Dwar with copper ones. That is something that is being quoted in this TY exclusive. Superintending archaeologist of the Dehradun Circle, Manoj Saxena, told TY, these are small cracks and bulges in the inner wall of the Singh Dwar. Our team has initiated repairs by replacing the iron clamps on the wall that hold the stones together with copper clamps. Tourism Minister Satpal Maharaj said they are minor cracks caused by the shifting of earth. We are keeping an eye on the development. The Singh Dwar was constructed along with the rest of the temple's present structure around the 17th century and is part of the main temple complex. It has idols of several deities installed on both sides of the structure. So not subsidence, unlike Joshimath, the situation is unlike Joshimath, but ASI is on the ground, on the ground it is carrying out its own survey. Some saying because of small earth shifting, some saying because of rain and environment related reasons. There is a crack on Badrinath Shrine's main gate, but again Nancy, Badrinath Shrine is just 40 kilometers away, from Joshimath.
And we have seen what is happening in Joshimath. The cracks are disheartening to see because people are leaving their house just like that only, and they're like thousands of people are displaced out of Joshimath. And I think whatever reason we give, it's clearly written here that the last renovation of the Singh Dwar was done in the 1990s and it was made in the 17th century. So I think it got old, and here it also said that the cracks are vertical in nature, so if needed we'll replace the old stone to ensure that they do not widen. So I think the ASI had received the instruction from the center to carry out the repairs and see what is the solution right now, because the ASI has sent an estimate of rupees 5 crore to the government for the repair. So it's going to take 5 crores to repair the cracks that is happening. But I think it's important to preserve these important because it's it represents the culture and heritage of India. So but it was built in 17th century and it was last repaired
it's still standing
and it was last repaired in 1990s. So I think it's high time that ASI is doing the survey. I think they'll find a solution.
Absolutely. More details on that we'll bring to you. I'm reading two stories, actually 3 stories that I definitely want to touch upon. But first and foremost, very quickly, Kim meets Putin, comes out in support of Russia looking for weapons of war. US, South Korea worried that North Korea may give arms for Ukraine war to Russia. And we, yesterday saw those visuals of Kim Jong-un getting that proper guard of honor. It was almost like a state visit. There are 2 quotations, one from Vladimir Putin, one from Kim Jong-un over here. In Korea, there is a proverb, good clothes are those that are new, but old friends are best friends. And our people say, an old friend is better than 2 new friends. This is Vladimir Putin saying for Kim Jong-un. On the other hand, Kim Jong-un has said, the Russian army will win a great victory in the sacred struggle for punishment of a great evil that claims hegemony and feeds an expansionist illusion. Coming from a dictator
there
himself.
You have it.
Ukraine says it hit Russian targets in attack on Crimea. On the other hand, Ukraine is busy attacking Russia. Kyiv has said that Ukraine attacked Russian naval targets and port infrastructure early on Wednesday in the Crimean city of Sevastopol in what appeared to be the biggest attack of the war on the home of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. The attack on Crimea, which was seized and annexed by Russia in 2014, was also confirmed by Moscow. But this, an old friend is better than 2 new friends, coming from Vladimir Putin for Kim Jong-un. Leaders also spoke of possible Moscow help for Pyongyang's satellite program as well. So Roscosmos could come and help out, the North Korea's space odyssey and their space advancements as well.
Yeah, and when we were talking about the bilaterals that are going to happen between Kim and Putin, my first question was, what is there for the North Korea, what is there for the Russia and the meet, that what are they going to talk about? I mean, what is the give and take? The arms deal was there, and I knew that North Korea somewhere is going to come out in the open and support Russia no matter what, because we are talking about Kim Jong-un here. He is going to support the war, obviously. But it's important to also see that the way Putin met Kim Jong-un, his agenda was very much clear. He just wanted to poke the US, poke the West, that you know what, there are other leaders that are going to have a meet with me. So he was just trying to mess with the West. But on the other side, I was reading about what North Korea's agenda was, and it was clear that, you know, Russia is a food exporting country as well, and North Korea is one of the largest, you know, one of the largest country who imports food from outside.
You're right.
So I think
so
it was
food security is there, absolutely. And Black Sea Grain Initiative was something that got the G20 flavor as well, when people started talking about ki kya isko approval milega, kya isko approval
and
nahi
Russia
milega.
has been one of the greatest, you know, the market that they have and the kind of export that Russia does. It's hard to cut off ties with them. Even India is, you know, importing crude oil from Russia. So it's hard to cut off ties with Russia, and I think Kim Jong-un went there and met him, and I was like, what is the agenda going to be? What are they going to talk about other than, you know, arms and weapons? But I think Kim Jong-un got what he wanted. There is a promise of, you know, there are reports.
Well, I was glad to see that Kim Jong-un, you know, moves outside North Korea as well. Let's move on, Nancy. I wanted to talk about the C-295 aircraft that India is getting from Spain, and there was an advertisement also that I saw somewhere. I'm trying to figure out where I saw that advertisement on the C-95, because our Air Marshal VR Chaudhary, he's gone to Sevilla. He's checked the plane completely. Yesterday we saw visuals of, you know, him checking the plane in the cockpit. We saw the plane in action. He's going to fly in this plane, and take a look at this. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just quickly show it to the camera over here. Just cut to the main. Yeah, there you go. The big you know, advertisement that has been put across by the government of India. Oh, actually, this is Airbus, who say that we are proud to deliver the first C-295 aircraft to the Indian Air Force. The C-295, a reliable and highly versatile tactical transporter, the C-295 will serve the Indian Air Force on various missions, as well as the government of India's vision of an Atmanirbhar Bharat. This is what I'm picking up over here, Nancy. We're going to get about 40 of those aircraft in the days to come.
Yeah, and here they are already saying, no, Kabir, the number is going to go up, because the IFAC is saying that we have gotten the first C-92, the C-295 plane, but we might require more than the 56 that we have already ordered.
And it says another 40 to roll out from Vadodara assembly line September 2026 onwards. So 2026 onwards, Vadodara mein hum khud apna C-295 produce karne lagenge. 15 more from Spain over the next 2 years. So 16 total C-295 aircraft from Spain. This one brought in from Sevilla. Air Chief Marshal VR Chaudhary over there that you can see standing with the team. He was you know, at the forefront of getting this contract, but from September 2026 we're going to start our own production and manufacturing from Vadodara. All right then. Let's move on really quickly. We have 2 more stories, it seems, to cover and figure. And the last one, let me tell you, the last one is absolutely interesting, so do stay on. Let's quickly talk about the Libyan floods as well. You know, and I saw how quickly that smile went off your face, because that's actually the devastation and the numbers that we're looking at. 20,000 people that could be dead.
Yeah, I mean,
could be, I mean, feared missing. You got 5,000 people. You know, who more than 5,000 people who've lost their lives due to the floods, the storm, and the breaking up of the dams in Derna, in Al-Marj. Libya, that's already been dealing with so many, you know, regional conflicts. These are the satellite images, but you know, more than the satellite images, the visuals from the ground, you know, from where you can see that the broken dams, the kind of damage that they've created. The concrete like sludge that it has left across, you know, this is still from the storm and the floods that happened. But when the dams finally broke, those visuals were just something out of the ordinary. You felt the wrath of Mother Nature, and it is Mother Nature fixing herself back up, isn't it? Thousands still missing, and these thousands, let me tell you, Nancy, are more than 30,000. People are saying more than 30,000 that are feared to be missing. There is aid at work. Rescue teams and some aid deliveries began reaching Derna, according to the Red Crescent in Libya. Teams sent by Turkey and the United Arab Emirates to the city of Benghazi, about 290 kilometers from Derna, have been dispatched to the disaster zone. Support is trickling in. We need more of it, says Norwegian Refugee Council.
I mean, we have been covering this for like 3 days now, and every day.
Look at the road that's collapsed, Nancy.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I mean, it completely vanished, and you know, we have been covering this for like 3 days now, and every day there is a new figure. We started with 2000, we came to 3000, and today it has passed the toll of 5100 as well. So, I mean, where is it going to stop? And we already have more than 30,000 people who are already missing. We don't have any, we don't have any actual confirmation that these 30,000 people are safe wherever they are. And the way this, flood has hit in the country, you can see that the roads are completely, they've vanished out of it. It's hard to believe that once people used to live here, there was a proper civilization here. And I think, even if the, rescuers are coming in, but I was reading it somewhere, because the floods, affected areas which are so remote that even the rescuers are not able to go there and, carry out people, even if they can see that people are, stuck in the debris, or people are, drowning in the flood. But the rescuers are trying their best. But when you talk about, a place like Libya, I think the remote areas are suffering the most right now.
Well, all right. Now, take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving on to, the next segment, the next story that we're focusing on. Because, we're talking about Chandrayaan, we're talking about Aditya L1, we're talking about Space Odyssey. That has again opened the door for conversations about life being there beyond our solar system, beyond our own planet. And take a look at this. Alien bodies displayed during public hearing in Mexico's Congress. This is what was displayed on Mexico's Congress. Take a look at that. These are visuals of the displaying of the alien bodies. This is happening inside Mexico's Congress. These are alien corpses that have been shown. Does this mean, Nancy, does this mean, and people who are watching the stream right now, get down in the comment sections, does this mean that the debate of whether extraterrestrial life exists or not?
Look at the face.
Look at that. That seems like, the body that was used in the E.T. movie.
Yeah, it looks so real right now. And I feel like, the debate that has been going about aliens existing or not, I think this clears it up, because, I think they have 3 fingers, and, the skeleton you can see. I mean, definitely there is something, this is the proof that we are not alone. And quoting the Mexican politician, he is saying that we are not alone in the universe, because there is some life also there.
Let me quickly give the viewers, the update. During a public hearing of the Mexico Congress, which was live streamed online, 2 alleged alien corpses were unveiled shortly after several videos were displayed showing UFOs and unidentified anomalous phenomena. This is what the actual wordings are. They displayed showing UFOs and unidentified anomalous phenomena, according to several reports by the local Mexican media. The 2 small non-human corpses that you can see on your screens were displayed in windowed boxes for all to see. This is something that was, for all to see, and it was live streamed to the public, happening inside the Mexican Congress. As attendees and the nation looked on in shock, experts testified under oath that the specimen were not part of our terrestrial evolution. So there is some test that has constantly been done as well. These aren't beings that were found after a UFO wreckage. They were found in diatom, in algae mines, and were later fossilized, said journalist and ufologist Jamie Mawson, who was under oath. Do you know what this means, Nancy? If this certainly is the truth, then all those conspiracy theories about, how we built the pyramids, of how, there was extraterrestrial help back in the day, they came to us, they've always been here. They're the ones that are running the Illuminatis and, the secret services, all those conspiracy theories. My goodness, what is it going to do? The internet is going to blow up.
Yeah, I mean, even to think that my whole life was a lie, that I thought that, only humans exist, but there is some another universe who might and might not be superior to us, who might be controlling us for I don't know so long. And the reports have been saying that these skeletons are 1,000 years old. So definitely they have been here for the longest of time.
Geopolitical diplomacy is something that we spoke about. Maybe intergalaxical diplomacy.
We are going to be having bilateral talks with one of the alien nations.
No, but
very
I mean,
soon.
away from that lighter note, Nancy, it still
Yeah.
is quite shocking and appalling what you're looking at right now.
Definitely.
I mean, this is fossilized non-humans, not from our planetary system, according to the various experts that have carried out whatever tests were carried out on this.
And
According to the journalist and the ufologist Jamie Mawson, these aren't beings that were found after a UFO wreckage. They were found in diatom mines, in algae mines, and were later fossilized. Mawson addressed members of the Mexican government and US officials stating his findings. He said the specimen were recently studied at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, where scientists were able to draw DNA evidence using radiocarbon dating. The small mummified specimen retrieved from Cusco in Peru are believed to be 1,000 years old.
yeah, these are 1,000 years. So they have been here for the longest of time. And I think this is such a great discovery that you know that a whole another lot of universe exists before us. And I mean, you can see the face. It looks like a real, humanity face. They have two eyes. You can see the nose. You can see the mouth. And definitely, they are not from the human species that we belong to. I mean,
No,
what if
that is quite evident. But then
Yeah.
again, the studies that have been done, I mean, for the last 30,000, 35,000 odd years, the Homo sapiens, the sapiens have taken over.
Yeah.
We're the only, last human breed species that's
Yeah.
actually left. We did have 7 species, according to experts, of humans. So 1,000 years back, what was it like? Because humans weren't there 1,000
Yeah.
years back. If this is a fossilized mummy of a non-human that existed 1,000 years back, it does open that door that leads to the conspiracy theories and leads into the belief of what if there is life beyond our solar system? What if there is life beyond our galaxy? Now, X-rays of the bodies were also shown during the hearing.
Yeah.
As experts said under oath that one of the bodies had eggs inside and that both had implants made of extremely rare metals, including osmium. Now, I don't know what osmium is, Nancy, but the bodies containing eggs inside means there were reproductive factors and capabilities, and at the same time, implants made of extremely rare metals. What are these extremely rare metals? Serious questions that have now come about. Now, Ryan Graves was in attendance. Ryan Graves, the executive director of Americans for Safe Aerospace and former US Navy pilot, was also in attendance at the Mexican Congress when this presentation was being made. Ladies and gents, I still can't wrap my head around this. As you can see, that many people came on under oath and testified that these were non-humans. These were fossilized diatom, algae fossils dating back to about 1,000 years. Not humans, not from our solar system, not from our planetary experience. There are so many videos that I've been watching on YouTube, Nancy,
Yeah.
that keep on saying that, do you look at the pyramid? Have you seen the size of the pyramid?
Yeah.
How is it so congruent? How is it so strong? How is it that, you can travel from one room to the other inside the pyramid, the construction, the architecture? How was it that they learned to do it? Many suggested, and there are several videos out there, some by very, reputed and renowned YouTube channels, history YouTube channels, that have these features. And I agree that it is to attract eyeballs. Sometimes you're just sticking to the screen because you're like, okay, is that an alien? Is that extraterrestrial? Should I continue to watch that? You stick on to a show.
Yeah, true.
But maybe all of that will actually turn into reality. Take a look at that. Look at the face. It is straight out of that movie E.T.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I just want to imagine what the people, like right now, but now we are seeing this through a TV screen, we are so thrilled about it that what is going to happen. I mean, if there's a possibility of another universe, I mean, it's going to be so exciting. I'm just imagining what people might have been going through who were there at the live, streaming of this when the Mexico Congress, showcased
It has left
these
the nation in
skeletons.
shock, and let me tell you, not just this nation, the entire globe in shock. But there is a point to note here, ladies and gentlemen, and there is a point to note here, because even as we're talking about these aliens, the point to note here is that though this hearing happened in the Mexico Congress, which of course has, lend it some credibility because it's happening inside the Congress. वरना लोग कल को Mexican Congress को ही believe नहीं करेंगे, उसका credibility बिल्कुल नष्ट हो जाएगा. At the same time, it should be noted that Mawson, this ufologist that I'm talking about, he has been associated with various fake claims of aliens before. But hey, what if they weren't fake claims? He was actually talking the truth. And we just were too naive to, listen and understand. In June 2017, Mawson was involved in the analysis of 5 mummies discovered in Peru at the region where the UNESCO World Heritage Nazca Lions site is located. The images allegedly showed a crouched mummified body of a humanoid figure with an elongated skull and 3 fingers on each hand and foot. Later though, that alien discovery was debunked. The mummified corpse was shown to be that of a human child. But ladies and gentlemen, if these visuals are to be believed, if the Mexican Congress is to be believed, if all those people who came out under oath on record to say that these are non-humans, not from our planetary experience, away from our solar system, these are 1,000-year-old, algae, mummified, fossilized, bodies of aliens with 2 fingers, 3 fingers, elongated necks and weird kind of skull shapes, well then, we're in for a big debate.
Definitely. I mean, this is something that I don't think so we can wrap our head around in the near future. And although he's a self-proclaimed, UFO scientist and he have made claims, but I think now he has proof. Look at the skeleton, it looks like straight off the ET movie that you were talking about. I mean, if not aliens, I really want to, let the Mexico and, the team go there, study them. And because this is not from our species very clearly. So if not aliens...
In the meantime, Nancy, this is what I'm picking up from the e-copy of Al Jazeera. It says Mexican legislators are holding hearing on the existence of UFOs and shown alien bodies. So the Mexican congressman Sergio Gutierrez said he hoped the hearing on UFO was the first of the other similar events in Mexico. Mexican legislators heard testimony regarding the possibility that extraterrestrial might exist and were presented with the alleged remains of non-humans being in an extraordinary hearing marking the country's first congressional event on aliens and UFOs. What's coming next? We'll have to wait and find out. Meanwhile, that's the latest that we're picking out from the video that was shown inside the Mexican Congress, even as legislators are currently hearing what was exactly shown inside the Mexican Congress. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for you in today's Page 1. That's Nancy Bora and Kabir Naqvi signing off. Before we do that, we will of course do a full-blown show on the alien discovery. We will do a show on the 3 Bravehearts that have laid down their lives even as the final rites are being held. Later on in the afternoon, the South Indian with Sudha Saranan, and of course you have all the top stories under the global lens that comes on later in the evening. Manipur continues to be our focus, and tune into News 9 when you feel like for all the top stories. Thank you so much for watching.
इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं क्योंकि सभी लोग कर रहे हैं.
Coaching is now starting from grade 3, 4, 5, 6.
होता जाने वाली बीच राह में आधे टेस्ट देके हैं सिलेक्शन की चाह में.
ऑल इंडिया का बच्चा कोटा जाता है.
This rat race is for rats, not for humans. So why should we even be a part of it?
The Rat Race. This and more streaming on world's first news OTT,